back to another issue of Hops Geek News. I'm Mash, as always and forever, here with the Hoppy Mommy. Hoppy, what's up?
Not much. What's up over in or up in Idaho?
Oh God, the flies. That is it. Lord of the Flies, this damn state. That is what's happening. Um, Minor complaint, if I can rant for a second, is the flies in the state are so bad. Apparently, it's fly season for like the middle of August to middle end of September, and they're everywhere. No matter what you do, no matter how many fly traps. You walk into your house, there's flies. You know, you keep the place clean. You walk outside, there's flies. It's awful. So that's what I have going on, which makes
Well,
me. Ugh.
yeah, we even saw a fly on our last happy hour. I saw you like swat a fly
Well,
away.
it's ridiculous because like we keep the
I've
place
heard it's
clean,
insane.
walk inside, and there's like flies all over the place, and so you feel naturally disgusting. You're just like, what is going on in my house? And I'm just like killing flies left and right. I'm dual wielding fly swatters. We got like fly traps. We have chickens. Chickens are supposed to eat flies even, and it's still just mass mayhem around here. But everyone's just like, oh, don't worry, they're gonna die in a couple weeks. It's like that's not good enough. I need him gone now. I want him dead. I want their family dead, all dead.
You're
So
like the Godfather.
exactly.
Um, because you weren't living in Idaho this time last year, huh? So this is your first fly
No,
season.
it is. So I moved here middle of October last year, and I've deployed, there's been like wicked bad flies all around the desert there, and I'm just like, oh, it's just because these places smell awful. These places suck. And then I come here, and it's like, nope, it's just when you're in the desert, I guess there's just
Right.
flies. For whatever reason, they love being here. So
Right. Well, it's
it
almost
is.
love bug season for us, so I'm sure they'll be. It's usually like twice a year. They usually show up end of September, and it's crazy. They literally just see them floating everywhere, and then they just vanish like a week later.
It is crazy. I do remember that when I lived in Florida, they'd be all over like the screens. And then New England, we'd have ladybug season. So you'd have all the ladybugs all over the place. And I hate ladybugs too. Like I just don't do bugs. I don't
Aren't
like
those
bugs.
supposed to be good luck?
I guess, but I don't know. If
Oh, so
ending up eventually in Idaho is good luck, then sure.
well, I don't remember where. I think we were talking about wolf spiders recently, and I actually found one in my dining room yesterday, and I'm looking at it. It's a pretty decent sized spider,
Yeah.
probably about that big. And I looked at it, and I'm like, "That's a wolf spider. I am not touching that. I am not doing anything." I put a heavy glass cup over it because wolf spiders, if the female just her eggs just hatch, she carries baby spiders around on her tummy. So if you
Oh
go to
yeah.
kill it, little baby spiders will disperse. And I wasn't certain if it was, and then I found two baby spiders wandering around. I'm like, oh, that's a wolf spider. So my husband got home, he put like a piece of paper under it to take it outside, and then the paper like dropped and little babies go everywhere.
Oh, that
So,
is terrifying. That's like I would be Jeff Daniels arachnophobia, just torching my house at that point. Just no,
oh,
burning
that's
it
an
down.
arachnophobia is like worse or like nightmare, I'm sure. But
I God, I hate. Ugh, I don't like spiders. Don't like snakes. And funny enough, my stepdad, he's actually like this reptilian kind of person. And so my room is always in the basement. Right next door is his reptile room, he calls it. So he's got scorpions. He's got big ass snakes all over. Like just
what are
about
they,
20 plus
poisonous
snakes.
snakes or are they
No, none
like?
of them are poisonous. None of them are, but nonetheless, you know, you're basically sharing a basement with a room full of snakes and scorpions and spiders, and you open up the freezer in the basement and there's like little dead rats because he feeds them all the
Oh
snakes.
yeah, that's. I
Yeah,
remember
I'm not too
watching.
bad.
My mom had a friend when I was little. He had a 10-foot python, and he would buy live rabbits, and we'd
No.
see them put the live rabbit in this big old cage, and it was like, oh, I couldn't watch. It's terrible. And then he would buy mice. He had another snake that he'd buy mice for. So this was a random tangent. I did not expect us to be talking about that.
Yeah. Anyways, I am.
But
Speaking of, this actually segues pretty nice due to all the flies because I'm drinking a Mother Earth Brewing Company beer. They have a brewery in Nampa, Idaho, and then also they're from California. But this one's called Alone in Space, which I kind of wish I was because then I would be dealing with flies and all this other useless nonsense. But it's actually a hazy oatmeal IPA brewed with Galaxy, Mosaic, Eldorado, and I'm gonna butcher it. I never know if it's Sabro or Sabro hops.
I don't know. Who knows?
It's good nonetheless, 6.9%. So it doesn't even taste really overly hazy or anything, but it's I think it's really delicious. All the mix of the hops and things like that. I really enjoy Galaxy hops in my beer, so I'm pleasantly pleased with this beer.
Nice. Well, I just cracked open a pontoon brewing beer called Wake Zone. It's just a
Oh
India
yeah,
Pale Ale, basic IPA. Tastes a little West Coasty because I guess because it's not very hazy. So anything not hazy now to me seems West Coast. But yeah, since we're doing our most underrated characters, and I spoiled mine last week, it's Namor the Submariner. I went with whatever ocean-themed beer I had in my fridge.
Are
And
you
even
sure we're
though
not doing Moana?
she is underrated as well, and she should be qualified as a superhero. But even though the Dolphins got their ass kicked by the
Oof.
Patriots today, I still got it in my Save the Whales glass.
Yes, I did nothing all day. I was the least. I made sure I did homework last night, even though I was drinking for most of the day at this work barbecue. I came home, did homework just so I can do nothing but watch football. I had two TVs up. I had the Red Zone. I had the Packers game on. I had the whatever games are on TV right now. I had those on. So feels nice. I miss the NFL. I know a lot of people are feeling whatever about the NFL, but for me, it's just like it really means fall is back to me, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, it's nice to have football back because I agree with you. It's like for me, it was always football started off the best time of the year, just
Yeah,
fall and Christmas and everything. But it does feel different. It's like people aren't there, and it does feel different.
it does. So I
Um,
noticed that too. Like, obviously, the Packers are playing in Minnesota, and their stadium's always wicked loud, and it was just dead silent, in which I
yeah,
think obviously helped Aaron Rodgers. But you can hear everything going on the field. It's the best because something will happen, then you just hear players yell random like swear words that don't get bleeped out that you might not hear because of crowd noise, and it's just like, how are they going
right.
to circumvent all this? But it does feel strange. However, it feels like we're on to a great time of year because Halloween's coming up, and I'm still on Pumpkin Watch 2020. There are no pumpkin beers in Idaho yet. I'm getting kind of
Really?
there. You got your Elysian 12 pack of mix. Do you have
Oh,
like your
that's InBev
generic?
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have like your generic big breweries, and then you have Sam October, but you have no like micro breweries that are doing any pumpkin. Edge released their Oktoberfest last week, which I actually have Pontoon's Nightmare Fuel and Edge's Oktoberfest on its way to you. So you'll get some of that. But yeah, I put me on suicide watch maybe soon if I don't get any pumpkin beers. But
Well, I
that's
have
about
pumpkin beers for you in my fridge. I might have to send them out sooner rather
I
than later.
so that reminds me. I saw one of your pictures. There was a beer called Pumpkin Spice Latte.
Yeah, it's Swamphead Brewing. I actually did not buy that. A friend of mine did. So that one, if I can find it before I send you some, I can grab it. But I did not see that one at Total Wine. That's in Gainesville Brewing. Or
Oh,
not
that
Gainesville
Swamp
Brewing. I'm
Thing.
sorry, Swamphead Brewery in Gainesville. It's a beautiful brewery. It's the only thing good in that town. Everything else is orange and blue.
Well,
It's
that and like
terrible.
Gainesville, isn't that where like all the no offense to anybody in Gainesville, but that's where like the trailer parks kind of are, aren't they?
Well, it's
That's
like
how I
middle of
always felt when
Florida.
I go there. Your
Yeah.
middle. Anytime I think of Gainesville, it's like middle America and Tim Tebow. So
Yeah. Jesus and football. Um, But I mean, it's like anywhere in Florida. You get the cliche people and then you get the regular people. But it is a very much so swamp area. But it really is
yeah,
it's one of the prettiest breweries I've ever been to. But yeah, that was a very good beer, pumpkin spice latte from
did it
Swamp Head. Yeah.
taste like a PSL?
No, it didn't taste like a PSL. It wasn't overly sweet. It's actually a good balance of pumpkin beer, and you don't really get too much of a coffee flavor, if I remember exactly. We tried a few pumpkin beers that night, so everybody brought over different ones. But Ivanhoe just did a pumpkin beer, so that one's going to you. I'm not sending one to Jake, 'cause I know he does not like pumpkin beer.
Just send him a bunch of fat tires and see
Oh, that'd be
all he
so
wants to
mean.
do
Should do that on April
is
Fool's.
April Fools. Everyone just send Jay fat tire beers. If you,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah. So what have you been kind of reading, watching this past week? I know it feels like forever since we've talked. Like I know we did our hoppy hours and everything, but maybe just the weeks seem longer these days. I have no idea. It feels like a month's passed, I guess.
I don't know what happened to this week. I didn't really read or watch much. I watched the newest episode of The Boys, which we'll talk about at the end of this episode. So anybody who hasn't seen it yet or doesn't watch the
Yes.
show, it won't be ruined. You can stop watching at that point. And then I watched Inside the Boys, which is always fun because you get some background info. And then I started Preacher, but I'm only like 20 minutes into the first episode because I'm trying to get my husband to watch it with me. So as soon as he fell asleep, I put The Boys on.
God, I feel that's so hard. I feel that's so bad.
But that's honestly all I've watched. And then as far as reading, I went to the comic book shop the other day and I got volume 2 of The Boys and my basics, Oblivion Song and Wolverine and whatnot. But I haven't started reading them. I just started Travels with Barley.
Ooh.
So it's a book about a guy. It's fairly old. It's from like 2004, which doesn't seem that long ago, but it was. And he kind of travels a little bit of the country and a little bit of history in here, a little bit of information, but it's interesting when he first starts out, he's talking about like these two big craft breweries that are competing against each other, and they're talking about Dogfish and Sam Adams, which is funny because they now are
Now
the
they're
same
one.
brewery and have merged. Yeah.
You can't
So
beat them from them.
yeah. So I'll probably go back and forth between this and volume 2 of The Boys for the next week, but that's pretty much it. What have you been reading, Seth / watching?
Yeah, so you sent me the Wolverine comics. I finished issue 1, which is actually really good. Wolverine's been one of those like I've always enjoyed, but never really read or dove into the comics. And so you sent me the first 3 issues. So probably ended up picking up, continuing that run, just to keep reading those. I also picked up Marvel Zombies Resurrection, which they did a Marvel Zombie series like a while ago. I didn't really read it, but this one is, I guess they're kickstarting that again. It's the first issue, and it was pretty good. I didn't really know what to expect. I just basically got it just for the cover, which is a pretty cool cover. It's got Spider-Man's like an older Peter Parker. Everybody else is basically zombies, and yeah, it was pretty interesting. He turns an old Sentinel into like a guardian for, I think it's Sue Storm and what's his name, Mr. Fantastic's kids. So he's protecting them, and they're just going. You find Xavier's old mansion where the X-Men were, that kind of stuff. So good so far. Just kind of picks up to casually read since the next issue of the Three Jokers isn't out yet, and there's nothing really else too much out. And then other than that, I've actually really been spending a lot of time just playing the new Avengers video game, which is actually wicked good.
Oh, I keep seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. The backstory is it starts out on it's like a Comic-Con, but for the Avengers essentially, and you are Kamala Khan, who is Miss Marvel, and you're there. She's like 13 years old. Her and her dad are going around it, and then all of a sudden this big thing happens. It creates Inhumans, and so the Avengers are dead. Or Captain America is believed to be dead. Spoiler, I'm sorry. The rest of the Avengers, they disband, they disappear, and you start off as her 5 years in the future. Inhumans are being hunted down by AIM, which is there's a bad guy.
Oh, that's what's his face? And from Iron Man.
Yeah.
Hammer. Somebody Hammer.
It's actually not the big bad guy. It hasn't been revealed yet, but I'm about 90% sure because every time they show the cutscenes, he's looking more and more like MODOK. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be the main bad guy who's running AIM. But you're on the run from them. You're getting the Avengers back together. You're finding them, and it's a really good game. A little button smashy if you're into like the old Mortal Kombat games where you just smash buttons. That's a lot of fun. But the story's been great. It's cool to see like Miss Marvel. She gets put back in, and shout out to Sandra Saad, she's first generation American. Her parents are Egyptian born, and so like this is a big deal, like Middle Eastern representation in video games now, like comic book characters. So it's really cool to see kind of that aspect of it. And I think outside of Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Iron Man, and maybe Captain America if he's still alive, that's kind of the only Avengers they have in the show. Oh no, I lied. They do have Ant-Man at one point, but yeah, it's good. I'm pretty into it right now.
I didn't realize they went into such depth of story in the video games nowadays.
Oh yeah. It's basically when you're not like the cutscenes for video games, it's a movie. It's an animated movie that you get to watch, which is really cool. Because I'd watch the heck out of a movie like based on this alone, and then you just get to play and beat up a bunch of people, and it's actually a great stress reliever in certain ways. But
right,
yeah. I liked it a lot. Other than that, nothing else. I've watched The Boys season 2, episode 4, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and I've just been watching sports.
Yeah, that's where my week went.
Speaking of, we have the Heat and the Celtics are going to be playing in Eastern Conference Finals, and so we are going to have our bet. Loser chugs a beer, posts it, all that good stuff. Lucky said he did his. He's
feeling lucky.
On feeling lucky. We'll check it out to see if he actually did it or not, if he paid his dues. But if he didn't, everybody's got to hound him pretty hard.
I feel like he did because he was pretty angry when we called him out.
So he was.
I believe him.
I do believe him, but I just like to talk shit. That's all I do.
Well, I mean, that's one of the more fun things about sports. Well, because I really didn't know how this was going to go. I know that we had done well against the Bucks throughout the year, but we were not favored as far as ranking. They were much higher ranked than us. So I mean, and we almost swept them, but they were able to pull out that game 5. But man, Tyler Hero with those threes, I was certain he was gonna like make it. So I was just like, just feel like I just kept yelling, and then we ended up losing game 4. But game 5 they came out and won. I mean, because nobody's come back from 3-0, so it was fairly certain once they had 3 in a row that we were money. But I'm just excited because the Heat haven't been this good in years. So it's like Dwayne Wade's last
super team.
Yeah, well, Dwayne Wade's last game wasn't even a playoff game. It was a regular season game.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get it on the TV here. We had to go to Ale House to watch Dwayne Wade's last game.
Which is
because
just absolutely ridiculous in the first place. Like, it should have been nationally televised anyways.
Nope. Because when the Heat aren't good, like, it's so hard to not be a bandwagon fan when you live in Orlando and you're a Miami fan, because any Sun Sports stuff doesn't play the Heat. You get the Magic and whatever. So we only get the games on like TNT and ESPN when they're doing good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, and then of course Hulu starts messing up on I don't remember if it was Sunday or Tuesday. So I actually had to put the antenna on to finish watching.
Oh my God, what year is it?
It was on. We still have an antenna, and the antenna comes in perfectly clear. You get ABC, CBS, you get a ton of channels.
Right.
But, all right. So what's our breaking news?
Oh gosh, we have news. We do have news.
Because I'll just keep talking basketball.
Yeah.
On.
If we didn't go into the news, we would just keep talking basketball at this point, which nobody came here for sports. I'll keep that separate. So everybody knows that things didn't end well during the first Justice League movie. We're still talking about this because, yes, we're getting Zack Snyder's Justice League. However, there's a little drama behind going on. Ray Fisher came out a few months ago and basically posted an Instagram story. It was like, I take back everything I said. And he had some real beef with Jeff Johns, Warner Brothers, and Joss Whedon. He's claiming that, a lot of unfair treatment. He was verbally abused, things like this. Like, I don't fully know. He hasn't come out with any concrete evidence yet, which is probably a lot to do with, how much can he actually say while lawyers are working things. But it's growing into like a lawsuit kind of deal, I believe. Lawyers involved. Warner Brothers is like, no, he's lying. And then Ray Fisher's basically like, no, he's definitely, was abused by these people on set and things like that. And Jason Momoa's come out and said that he stands with Ray Fisher, and a bunch of other actors who are like background characters or extras, stunt doubles, things like that have actually said that, yeah, we support him as well. So something must have happened on that Justice League set after Zack Snyder left to cause like a big issue. Because I think Ben Affleck wasn't happy with how things went. Obviously, there was that scene where the Flash is laying in Wonder Woman's chest. So that was a Joss Whedon thing, and he's had some allegations and stuff in the past. So I'm not accusing anybody, so Warner Brothers don't come knocking on my door. I'm just reporting the facts.
If that happens, then, well, we've gotten really big.
That's true. We've made it at that point. So, if that happens. But yeah, Cyborg, Ray Fisher, I mean, he was a good part in that movie. I know he was mad because he's supposed to play a really big portion, and now his story is going to be involved in the Zack Snyder cut. But yeah, there's some beef going on there. So I don't know what's going on. I'd be interested to see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
I think his thing is accountability over art is kind of what the tagline is, which, I mean, yeah, you should definitely be held accountable. If you're a shitty human being, then, be held to that. And just because you're a big shot director in charge of somebody or something doesn't mean you get away with just being a shitty human being. So,
right, at least not anymore.
Yeah. Other than that, of course, we all saw this coming. Wonder Woman is delayed to Christmas. Eventually it'll come out. Maybe. I have no idea. Tenet actually just released in American theaters last weekend, and it did okay, but it wasn't great. But people actually went out and saw it. So I was kind of hoping that, okay, people are getting out in theaters again. Maybe we're going to see some Wonder Woman action. But no, Christmas Day, which I can tell you right now, that's not going to happen again. Because if people aren't going out to the movies now that they're open, they're definitely not going to go out Christmas Day.
Yeah, which normally that's a big day though. But I wonder if part of it was because of the sales, like seeing how Tenet did and the other one that you don't want me to, that I said last time, the New Mutants, but seeing how poorly they're doing, maybe that's why they're just keep wishful thinking and pushing it back more and more.
Yeah. So
we'll see if Black Widow gets pushed too, but I won't be surprised.
I am very curious to see how Disney and Warner Brothers both play this, because they have these two movies, strong female characters. Obviously, one wants to be out before the other. Wonder Woman's already proven, but Black Widow looks really good as well. Who's going to be the first to I'm putting this out, and then that might set the other one to push their movie out because then they're like, oh God, they got theirs out. We got to get ours released right now, compete. So I'd be interested to really see how this all shakes out, or if maybe I'll pay $30. Look, I will pay $30 to rent this movie if that's what it takes. I don't care, but
I'll pay 50.
yeah, I mean,
Bidding war.
I will pay the price of taking like 4 or 5 people out to a movie and all your snacks and other things, because of course you're gonna want to buy a beer, maybe go out to dinner beforehand. Shit, just put the stuff out, I guess. Come on, I need it. We need something. I mean, football's back, so I don't need it that bad.
Right.
But
Well, we should
need my nerd fix.
For next week. We should see how well Mulan did, and see compare that with like Tenet and Mutants and
I
whatnot.
heard Mulan wasn't a bad movie, but I'm still not going to pay $30 to watch it yet when I know it's going to be out December 4th. And also, I'm not going to give them money because the whole Chinese Hong Kong thing, civil rights. Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually did end up getting it because we had told the kids we would, and then we told the kids we wouldn't, and then we went back and forth, and we ended up doing it.
So was it good? Was it good?
It was good. Some people were saying it was the best live action ever. I mean, it's hard to tell. I haven't really loved any of the live action movies. But I mean, yeah, it was very enjoyable. She was a lot of badass scenes. My 8-year-old kept calling her a bad butt. So I mean, it was very good. There's no Mushu. You don't get the dragon. Of course, people are making jokes like, "Ha ha!" Jokes on you. You spent $30 for a movie that doesn't have Mushu in it. But I thought it was very well done for converting it to an actual live action movie. Right. And I really don't want to say too much, but there was one cameo I was really hoping for, and it did happen. So I was very excited about that. And the guy, I forget what his name is, the guy that she like falls in love with or whatever at the end of the movie in the cartoon, his character in the cartoon is like higher ranked than her, but in the movie he's like equal ranked with her. And it was said apparently they did that because of the whole Me Too movement. They didn't want there to be like, oh, he's higher ranked than her, he's her boss, she's whatever. So they did that. Oh, and do you know that the main emperor dude is Jet Li?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I heard that Jet Li is the main emperor, which is that's kind of hilarious. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. So he did all those action movies that I didn't ever really watch, to be honest with you, because I'm just not into those kind of movies. But yeah, I guess that when it came out that he's the emperor, and I think there's a couple other big names in it as well.
There are quite a few.
I was like, oh wow, this movie is actually kind of stacked. And I heard that she's kind of overpowered a bit, which whatever, that's fine. Yes. But there's some pieces that you miss coming live action that the Disney had, and Disney's still my OG because it has Mushu. First of all, I was a giant Mushu fan, and I just prefer the cartoons to all that. It's childhood. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the cartoon's good, but yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we did save money because if I had taken both just my daughters to go see it, we would have spent more than $30, definitely.
Oh yeah.
And my daughter had her boyfriend come over, so it was like it's hard for us with kids at 3, 8, and 16 to find a movie everybody wants to watch. So.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that's, I think, kind of where it was just like, screw it, let's just spend the $30. Okay, so my breaking news. This isn't really breaking news, but I put in my Waze the other day. So if you live in Orlando, you never know what the traffic's going to be like. So I'll put random things in my Waze just to see, do I take 408 or 417, or do I not take either? So I went into my Waze the other day, and I was able to program it as Batman or the Riddler. So we've done Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster gets annoying real quick, but Batman was pretty funny. He's like, stay alert. Be ready, turn right in point 1. And then he's like, hazard in the road. This reminds me of Gotham City. So that's pretty silly. It's probably going to get old quick, but if you have Waze, I highly recommend doing that. Falcon and Winter Soldier have resumed filming. And yes. So, however, while they were close to finishing filming back in March, they have to do some reshoots because apparently the storyline that they had resembled too closely to what we are living right now in the whole pandemic situation. So they want to refilm some stuff so as to not terrify people.
Oh my God. First of all, like, so we're living in a reality that nothing gets more terrifying than the reality we currently live in.
Right. I'm guessing that there was some sort of pandemic and then the whole world fell apart, I guess. I only read the first 2 issues of the comic, and then they stopped when the world stopped. And I was at the comic book shop Friday, and I was like, have you guys gotten this back yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. But, okay. So that should be fun. There's no set release date yet, but at least they are filming again.
Yeah, I mean, thank God they're filming, and it's hilarious. They're like, no, it's too close to real life. It's like, no, we still want something like this
Right.
because what we used to think, like, I'd always be, why are these futuristic movies showing the world like in ruins and everything like that? And now we're living through something, and it's like, I finally get it. I
Right.
see exactly why these movies are death and despair.
Well, like as soon as this hit, what was it like? Not Outbreak. There was another one like all these.
Contagion.
Contagion was like
Yeah.
so popular. Everybody was watching it. I did
Yes.
not watch it. So they did have a little DC fandom yesterday for some TV shows. I guess they did movie stuff as well, but we've already touched on that. So Flash season 7 is coming back 2021. Their season premiere though is going to basically be what their season finale was supposed to be. They still haven't wrapped up that Eva storyline, and I watched the premiere, and it looks like that's basically just what they're doing.
Mhm.
What I find a little funny though is Caitlin Snow left the last season early, and I could tell why. I could tell she was pregnant. You can always tell.
She was, yeah, she definitely
They're
was.
shooting scenes where she's suddenly sick and laying down and can't get up, and then you can always tell because they're in real life, their face gets a little chubbier too.
Uh-huh.
And I'm allowed to say that because I've been that. And now she's probably like, oh great, now I don't get to be in the baby. Like I've had this baby 6 months ago. Can I come back and be
Guys,
in this?
I'm ready to go.
Storyline? They're like, no, we already wrote you out. So I'm wondering how they'll do that. But so Superman and Lois. They did finish filming that. That is going to be a new spinoff of Supergirl. So it's going to be that same Superman and Lois. That comes out January 2021. And apparently there's going to be a super cool new Superman suit.
Oh.
And they're going to be living in Smallville, though, and raising 2 teenage boys. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I guess they're going to juggle.
Superman and Lois. This isn't like Dean Cain returning, is it?
No. It's from CW's Supergirl.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's bizarre. Weird.
Yeah.
So the handsome dude who looks like he's 20 years old is gonna come and play Superman, and
Yeah.
we're supposed to believe he has teenage kids.
I have a teenage daughter.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, she'll be 17 in a few weeks. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, like that they're not living in Metropolis where Supergirl is, so they're going to Smallville, and well, she had just had the first baby, Jonathan.
Mhm.
In the show. So I don't know if they're doing a time jump or what. Maybe there's something I missed there, but that's what it says. They're going to be raising 2 teenage boys. Doom Patrol has been renewed for season 3, which is good because you convinced me to watch 1 and 2. And
Yes.
And my last bit of news doesn't really pertain to me because I don't watch the show, but apparently Lucifer is getting a musical episode because every CW show at some point must have a musical episode.
You have to do this. Yeah, I've never watched the show. I just know it's about the devil. That's literally all I know about it.
I keep getting told it's really good though.
I mean, I don't doubt it, but it's low on the priority of, hey, maybe if I'm in my darkest hour or next time I spend 6 months in the Middle East, like then I'll watch it because I have nothing but time out there to watch movies. So, but as for that, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't it on like NBC or something, and then they pulled it over to CW?
I honestly don't know. I
know.
think it's on Netflix now, but he had a brief cameo on Legends of Tomorrow. They like knock on something and he's like, Lucy, what are you doing here? And so that was the Lucifer guy. But
so we're gonna bring Lucifer back. Why can't we get Constantine back? Because I mean, I know he came on. Well, he was on Legends. I know that, but I want his own show again because that show was pretty good.
Okay. I figured that's how he ended up on Legends because his show got canceled. I've never seen Constantine. It's so funny. CW crosses over all these shows. We're like, please watch everything we have.
Just throw everything at us. Right. Fine, we'll watch it. Somebody's going to watch it. That and CW basically is like DC streaming at this point.
Right. Well, and they couldn't figure out a way, I guess, to bring in Supernatural. So they actually put the Supernatural TV show into Legends of Tomorrow. Where they're like, oh, cool, Supernatural's filming here. And then they stole all of Sam and Dean's weapons.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about Lucifer, but musicals, whatever. Everybody's got one.
Well, apparently they cast all these people who are like musically inclined. I don't know if that's like a requisite. They used to all be on Glee.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like half these people used to all be on Glee. Like I know Grant Gustin was on it. Wasn't what's her name, Carol? Yeah, she was on it. So that's the CW trope. You either have to be like really handsome and beautiful, and then also have to have the singing voice of Fergie and Jesus.
Fergie and Jesus. Well, I love that even like Joe, I think we've talked about this before, like even Joe was in Rent. So it's like he's had musical experience. Yeah. And then the other guy, the older, that merged together, Firestorm.
Yeah, Victor
He has
Garber
theater background as well. So
does.
I wonder if that's how it started. Like, hey, well, because there was a villain though that made them sing and dance,
It
so they
was
were able.
yeah.
It was another dude from Glee.
Yeah, but basically, I wonder if they're all on set and they just like start doing singing, and somebody's like, write this down."
Right. Well, my daughter said, I think it was the Archie show, Riverdale. I don't watch it, but she does. I think she said they tried to do one, and I guess it didn't go over well because not all of them can sing.
I watched season 1 of that show actually when it first came out because we were like, "Oh, hey, my wife's favorite thing's like Archie," and so we thought it was gonna be great, and then we watched it and we're like, "What the hell is this?
I think it's
What
for
is
teenagers.
this?"
Yeah, my daughter even
It's
stopped
way
watching it.
for teen. Yeah, no, I had to draw the line somewhere, and
Yeah.
that's about where I draw the line.
Well,
I
it's
will
funny
say
as.
though,
Go ahead. What
go
were you
ahead.
saying?
I was gonna say that Sabrina, the Netflix show that they just canceled, I did like that show a lot. They did. Sabrina has canceled a few months ago. I'm really kind of bummed because actually we legitimately love that show. The Sabrina show on Netflix is really good. It's kind of your spooky, but it is kind of cheesy at the same time. And I know I like that show a lot, but they canceled it because Netflix can't let you have anything good for more than 3 seasons.
I know what the hell. But yeah, I haven't watched that, but I've heard good things about it. But I feel like that's how Supernatural is, where it can be spooky but cheesy, but then they make fun of
Yeah.
their own cheese. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. So we shall move on to our main subject.
Yeah, so we are this week doing your most underrated superheroes. And what is yours? We'll let you. Ours are pretty much one and the same, kind
Yeah.
of just different universes. As you know, I'm all about more DC. Hoppy's more about the Marvel universe. So we'll see what hers is. Hers is going to be more of a deeper pool than mine is. I can tell you that much.
Well, I hope mine's not going to be too much of a deep pool in the next few years. Mine is Namor the Submariner. And
Yes.
he is not new. He has been around in Marvel since like the 30s. I think it's just one of those. He's a little bit harder of an adaptation to put onto screen, so people haven't really seen him as much. But why don't you go ahead and say yours, so because you can see
Yeah.
the
So
parallels.
obviously, yeah, he's going to be harder, but I feel like, they probably took notes, furiously taking notes during James Wan's Aquaman. And so that way they can put underwater characters in. And yeah, coincidentally enough, mine is going to be Aquaman. Um, Aquaman, I feel like I was saying that wrong. But it's not that big of a deep pool. However, I'm talking about the comic version. I'm not talking about Jason Momoa because he's kind of made it cool to be Aquaman again. Um, Aquaman to me is one of those characters that he's always like you see it in the boys. The guy who's the deep, he's supposed to be Aquaman, getting shit on. Comic books, everyone's like, "Oh, he just talks to fish."
I
Joss
don't.
Whedon had to throw in, "What do you do? Talk to fish?" And it's like he's so much more than just talking to fish. Yes, he communicates with the fish of the ocean. Big deal. That's not all he can do. He's got super strength to a degree when his armor on, bulletproof. He fights for a cleaner ocean, which is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he bridges the gap between Atlantis and the human world, which you know they're often wanting to go to war with one another. More so, Atlantis wanting to wreck um, the mainlands and everything. So he kind of bridges that gap. He's a king, and he's a big diplomat and plays a really big part in political reasonings as well as fighting crime and everything. He's just as important as say your Superman and things like that. So that's why I always feel like he's really underrated because there's so much more to Aquaman than just talking to fish. There's more to it than that. Yeah.
Now I know Aquaman in the movie. That's the only thing I'm familiar with him. He's a genuinely nice guy. Is he a genuinely
Yeah.
nice guy in the comics?
hmm For
Okay.
the most part, he's aware people make fun of him in the comics. He's a really he tries his best. Like I said, he's a politician. He always tries to do the right thing. He's never really a dick or anything like that. And he has Mara, who's like his queen, and he's just constantly trying to do good and just put aside like, okay, whatever. Yes, I talk to fish. Get over it. And if he sees something going wrong, he'll get out there, he'll fight. Like there was one of the old, I think it was the New 52 run, where he was arrested at one point because like Atlantis was getting sabotaged, all this, and he was taking on the U.S. government because he's like, no, this isn't right. And he wanted to like bring peace to both sides, and he willingly let himself get arrested just so that way he can do it the right way instead of just fighting. And, he could have easily fought his way out of it.
See, Namor can be kind of a dick.
I don't know too much about Namor, so I'm really interested in hearing about him.
Well, the only comics I've really read with him in them, years ago, I pulled them out actually. I read like the first like 30 issues of the original X-Men and like the first 30 issues of like the original Avengers, because you can buy them at like before I was even going to the comic book shop.
Oh,
and it gives you all the older issues.
Yeah.
And so that was where I first became familiar with him, and obviously I just kind of fell in love just because he's in the ocean, because I love the ocean, and like, yeah, if I can talk to whales and stuff, like, I love the deep on the boys, and I hope they go more into him, and I hope they humanize him more, even though he was a misogynistic prick, or is a misogynistic prick. But I think he's dealing with that, and I'd like to give him credit where credit's deserved. But he's got to start thinking things through more and stop getting marine mammals killed. But the Submariner, so he is actually 2 years older than Aquaman, but that's not uncommon. Okay. Marvel and DC have both copied each other back and forth.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, like, there are times where I think, like, oh, that's Deadpool. Oh, no, it's Deathstroke. It's like, what?
But they're still so, like, they copy each other, but they're still so friendly and cool with one another. They don't care. They're like, yeah, everyone thinks it's some sort of big competition, but they're like, no, we don't care, man.
Oh, and a lot of the creators and the artists go back and forth. You'll hear, this artist was with DC for years, and then they went to Marvel, and they went back to it, and they go back and forth. So, yeah, I mean, because they all love the same thing. So he also rules Atlantis, and he's also half human and half Atlantean. The Atlanteans in the Marvel books are actually blue, but Namor's Caucasian or white, because his human, I guess, shade took over. But he does not like humans. He's not a fan of humans.
Really?
Yeah. So the only time he really teams up with anybody like the Avengers or anything is if he thinks it's going to help Atlantis. So there are team ups where he's had, like in the 70s, he even teamed up with like Doctor Strange and the Hulk. And I think this might be how they end up bringing him in into the movies, is they actually fight like some interdimensional something or other in the comics in the 70s that's kind of led by Doctor Strange. And there's also in the early 2000s, because I've only read the older ones, so the stuff I did is actually in my huge Marvel encyclopedia, because I was like, well, what the hell has he done since the 70s? Let's find out. So in the early 2000s, Iron Man created a group, the Illuminati, and it was basically powerful, brainy people to handle major threats to the Earth. And one of the things that ended up coming from that storyline was Civil War, because they went into the whole Superhero Registration Act. But the Submariner he can swim 96 miles per hour. He has like super strength. He can actually fly when he's not in the ocean.
What the hell?
Yeah, so he's super.
Do they explain this?
Yes, they do actually. It's almost like a Hermes thing. I forget what it is. He has like little wings on his feet or something.
I would have gone with he manipulates the particles of water in the air, but hey, okay.
That's okay. Maybe they'll do that in the movie. But the only thing is, if he's out of the ocean for too long, he gets weak, and if he's out too long, he could actually die. So he's dependent on the ocean. Yeah. So I mean, that could definitely create for some issues if you bring him into the movies. So, and I did find out why him and Black Panther kind of butt heads, because I didn't know why. I had just heard that they were not fans of each other. So I guess at one point a tidal wave flooded Wakanda.
Oh, and
that was his doing. Yeah.
Oh. Man, that almost makes me sad, because I kind of wish we could have seen that maybe as like his big introduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like causing some sort of flood in Wakanda, and Black Panther's like, nah, screw you, man. And that's how they bring him in for some conflict, and then they end up working together or something like that. That would have been great. Maybe who's to say they can't still?
Well, they got a lot of different opportunities to bring him in, and like he's in love with Sue Storm. So, I mean, she never really gives him the time of day because she's with Mr. Fantastic. Obviously. But, if they now own Fox as well, I mean, I feel like they have just so many more opportunities to bring in so many more cool characters. But I had a friend years ago, I was all like, I want Ant-Man, I want Ant-Man, I want Ant-Man the movie. And he's always telling me I'm crazy. How are they going to make Ant-Man look cool? This is just, silly. Because Ant-Man was one of the original Avengers, and I had read the original Avengers comics. And I was like, but he, helped start the Avengers. Like, he needs to be in this. I mean, he was Giant Man and Ant-Man and whatnot, but when it finally came, I was like, ha! And so now I've been pulling for Namor ever since Ant-Man came out.
I mean, honestly, Ant-Man, the movie is my favorite Marvel movie. I will when I'm just in those doldrums or just feeling like, oh man, I just want something that's just gonna pick me up. I will throw on like the Ant-Man movie. For one, Paul Rudd is fantastic.
Right, and he's so
Fantastic.
different than all the other movies
Right. And
because
then
it's
it's just
Paul
like
Rudd.
your old-fashioned heist movie too. But then you get like this really fun character out of it. And that's so I love Ant-Man. But I am interested, I do really like about Namor is the fact that if he's out of the water for too long, it hurts them all. I think that's a really good idea because Aquaman, yeah, he's half human, half whatever, but he doesn't really have any vulnerabilities whether he's in the water or out of the water. Obviously, he's stronger in the water,
Right,
but there's none of that. Oh, he gets too weak. I don't really know what his. There's no kryptonite, so to speak. And so
right.
that's a really good idea of hey, he's out of the water for too long. He can get messed
Well,
up now.
and if he can move any fight to water, he can definitely get the advantage in that situation. Like there's a scene in one of the Avengers comics where he's, like fighting Hulk and Hulk's kicking his ass and he's like, I need to get him in underwater. And then, yeah, he's got double advantage underwater because one,
Awesome.
he's stronger, and two, the other person obviously is more vulnerable. Anybody who can't breathe underwater is going to be more vulnerable.
Right.
And he has the telepathy with sea animals as well, like Aquaman. So, I mean, they don't have to make him a complete raging dick. I think that they would probably give him maybe more of a Doctor Strange, Tony Stark personality in the movies
Hmm.
because he's very considers himself superior to humans, above humans. I mean, and they could do that too, and maybe then have him start to develop some empathy. But yeah,
It's
in the
kind of
comics,
like Thor from Thor 1. How
yeah,
he was kind of like, oh, petty humans.
how dare you mess with this man?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I would really love to see how they portray him. And yeah, it's somebody I've been wanting to see for a while. So that is
Well,
my
I
most
think we
underrated.
might get him. I have a feeling within the next couple of years, somehow we're going to probably get him because they've alluded to him enough that people are like, oh, he's definitely going to be coming in, especially with the changing of the guard for the Avengers that we're seeing. Is there's a bunch of old ones going out, new ones coming in. Why not bring somebody? And I kind of hope they play him off more dickish than anything else because that just adds an extra little dynamic. And then I can see even Doctor Strange kind of being like, what is wrong with this dude? Even though
Right.
that's exactly how he was in the beginning, and same with like Thor and everything like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Doctor Strange still is a little bit dickish, just not as much. Like even in the comics, I'm reading a Doctor Strange comic now, and like they even make comments about how he is still like arrogant a little bit too much.
Right.
Um,
I mean, how could you not be? You can literally do anything with, time, magic, anything. I'd be,
well,
God,
he's
I'm
still a
cocky enough
brain
as it
surgeon
is.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
and
could, oh
or
man,
neurosurgeon. Because yeah, he spends half his time doing brain surgery and half his time fighting mystical creatures from other dimensions.
how are you not the cockiest human being on earth? Like that, I do not blame Tony Stark for acting how he did whatsoever in any of the comics or movies, because I'd probably be the same exact way. Oh, I'm rich and I'm a superhero. Okay, what do you got? Nothing. Cool. I'm the
Right.
best there is, but
But
I
I
just
think,
have
I
complex
mean,
anyways.
moving into screen is always different, but like with Namor, he seems more of just like an entitled, just like angry kind of prick. So
That's a secret. He's always angry.
maybe we'll see.
So, last thing, if anybody hasn't watched episode 4 of The Boys, now would be thy chance to run away. Run as far as you can, as fast as you can, because we are going to talk about the latest episode of The Boys. It just dropped Friday. I watched it Saturday night, um, which even then feels like it was 10 years ago. God. However, it was a really great episode. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, you kind of get some road trip action. You have Huey and Starlight kind of getting back together, but not really. Mother's Milk's just like, oh God, I'm stuck in the car with these children while they're singing road trip songs, and he's just like, I'm
We
not.
didn't
You're,
start the
yeah.
fire.
And then at the same time, anytime Homelander's on screen, he is just captures the entire thing because there's so much tension built in. He's so angry, he's
Okay,
like at his boiling point.
we need to talk about that Madeline Stillwell. So when that happened,
It's not gay.
did you think she, did you think she was actually alive?
No, I didn't think. I knew there was something going on.
Okay.
I don't know. I just because we saw her die. She got her
Hmm.
eyes burned out. She died, and so I was like, okay, clearly this isn't her. either he's in some sort of weird dream or there's superpowers out there. Maybe somebody's pretending to be her, which, yes, Doppelganger was pretending to be her. And it was just so fucking creepy. He's laying on her lap. He turns back into this old, aging, bald dude. And then he's like, turn back, turn back. He's like, I'm trying. And it was just so weird.
He's
But
like
he's like,
making out with her in the milk. Oh my
yeah.
God. It
And
was so
the
bad.
milk is so disturbing. But it's just, he's slowly unraveling every episode because of Stormfront.
Hmm.
And it's really going to be interesting. I know they kind of reconciled, but I think she's more of saving her own ass at the end there. But I think she has ulterior motives because, as we saw, she was also Liberty. She's been around for years, 70 years plus, maybe. So I
Right.
really am interested to see what's going on with her.
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of puts some perspective into how racist she was in that last episode, and it's like, oh, she's been a racist for decades.
Great. Guess what? She's literally
Yeah.
been this way forever. And then the funny part was when they were kicking A Train out. And then they went on the Maria Menounos show, and he's like, well, we had the black section covered. And then he's like, Black Noir? Well, he has all the rest of them covered. I was like, Jesus Christ, man.
It's like nobody knows what he is.
Yeah, which is so funny because you're getting a lot more screen time with Black Noir this season, I feel, and he's had more emotions. And then he's just sitting there creepily over that intern or whatever her name shoulder while she searches for a butcher. And it's just like I almost like Black Noir, even though I know he sucks. But
Hmm.
I don't think he's a bad guy like Homelander almost. I think just he's like A-Trade. He's just kind of in it for himself.
Well, I think he was more so like trained and thought that he like when he was crying when he found out about the Compound V, I think it was like it really hurt him because he really thought like God chose him to
Yeah.
save humanity or something.
Yeah, everything
Um,
he does is for good.
yeah, so I think that now I think he's just out for blood, I guess. I'm sure this has been a pivotal change in his personality and his motives and everything if he really thought he was godlike and now he knows he's not.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how they develop his character more because we didn't really see him at all in season one. I mean,
Yeah,
he was just there.
he got into the fight with the female, and that was really about it. But other than that, you didn't see him. And now he's actually playing more of a prominent role, which is cool. Like I said, I kind of dig. Of course, the top part of his mask looks kind of like a bum version of Batman with like the nose, but yeah, I think he's in that. I just want to kill him. And then obviously William Butcher, he found Becca. I didn't realize she was going to be holed up in a VOT facility. I thought she was just living in middle America, but she's
I
in
thought she
this.
was in season one, but no, in the
Yeah.
last season, remember she had the cameras, like she knew the cameras were everywhere. So I didn't realize how secluded it was, but no, I knew she had something weird going on. But she's right, and she's like Butcher would not have fully accepted that kid. It was Homelander's kid, and I want to go back and watch season one because I really didn't think she was raped, but then she flat out said she was.
Yeah. So, well, how
I
much
think
of that
she's lying.
is? I feel like there's some half truths here.
But did you
Maybe.
okay? Every time he made a comment though about what Homelander did to you, she made a face like she looked guilty.
Yeah, and maybe. Well, so my thought process is maybe initially she might have gone into it, but then she changed her mind. And so maybe she feels guilty putting herself in this situation. Or maybe it's that survivor's guilt kind of thing that people go through that even though she maybe, had this traumatic experience, she feels like she's at fault still because she still had the baby and she just made Butcher believe that she was dead, like raped and killed, essentially. Which
Right.
maybe half that's true. We'll say for argument's sake right now, half that might be true. Um, but Butcher either would have never accepted the kid or fully just used the kid to have powers to fight Homelander, to kill Homelander, because he's still going to go after him regardless if Becca's there or not.
Yeah, no, he's on a mission and there's no stopping him.
Absolutely. And so I think this is definitely not the last we've seen of her. I think somehow her kid and her, they're going to play another, I feel like they're going to play a role throughout the season somehow.
Well, and as the kid gets stronger and, the kid's eventually going to realize what's going on and he is going to resent the mom to an extent. And that may
Oh,
be when
yeah.
he reaches out to, who knows, Butcher or Homelander. So you could, see that kind of go on because
100%. Yeah. I feel like
yes,
he's going to find out. The kid's going to find out.
Yeah.
especially as he gets older and he's like, why don't I have any friends
Mhm.
or something like that. So he'll break out and he's in start now. He knows he has powers too. So
Right. What's the Jim Carrey movie where they film him on a reality show his whole
oh
life?
yeah, the Truman
The
Show.
Truman Show.
Yes,
Like that's what this kid is.
yeah, honestly. And then she's so I'm interested to see. I feel like I don't know. Someone from the Seven is gonna probably die by. I think Huey Butcher. It might be Black Noir. Might get pretty badly messed up. And then I still feel like Stormfront and Homelander they might have reconciled, but they're gonna come to like a head, and someone's gonna get messed up because she was giving that big speech. He doesn't like the fact that she's kind of taken over the lead. Like there's something going on with
Mm.
her. I don't know what it is, but they're letting her say and do an awful lot that just doesn't jive.
Right. But they may also realize, like, Vault's a business, and they may realize, like, she is
Yeah.
what, America likes now, and
She's
she's on,
honestly the Donald Trump of the Seven.
right.
Let's just say it. Like the way
When
she's
she's on the
talking.
social media, and well, she's eloquent though. So there's
Yeah, she
that.
can type. She can talk.
But
But no, yeah, I feel like she kind of. You're right. She's saying social media doing, and that's kind of what's popular. So they're just running with the popular hand.
yeah. And I mean, other than her being evil behind the scenes, like she truly seems like what you want to believe in, like that she's calling out the big corporation, and maybe Val's okay with that because she's still accepting a paycheck, and so she's still part of the Seven.
That, and they might see Homelander slowly unraveling too. So they're like, let's prop her up to
Yeah.
potentially be his successor because this man's starting to lose his mind, and they've got to know how to take him out. I feel like somehow they probably know his weaknesses in some
Maybe
capacity.
he's got a chip in his head, and his head could explode.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. I don't know because I've never
That's how
read
they
the
should end the
comics. So I don't know.
series.
I
Right.
don't know. Obviously, you're not gonna go hand in hand with the comics. Like if something
No, they
happens,
haven't at all.
yeah, you're gonna figure it out. And I think he has some sort of weakness that we're gonna find out eventually. This season we're gonna see him actually legitimately bleed in some capacity, just to show that he is kind of weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a weakness there. So and then that's gonna play a psychological role potentially going into season 3. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Liberty as well, or Stormfront, when they said, well, maybe she has some anti-aging properties. I wonder how, because like Soldier Boy, like Jensen Ackles isn't an old man, and he was supposedly around during World War II. So I mean, there's
Yeah,
got to be lots of these superheroes that are just not aging, and
right.
like how slow do all of them age, and how long have if they developed a serum during World War II, it's like how many babies did they give powers to?
Yeah. I
So
mean, yeah, if he was around a long time ago, he's gonna be showing up next season. I probably to fill A Train's role if A Train's getting kicked out. There's a lot. So there probably was some experiments going on. They figured out, but then I wonder if maybe not all of them age, and some of them do age. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
right.
Maybe Homelander doesn't have the aging, like he ages while Stormfront doesn't. And maybe that's something that comes into play too.
Right. He
We'll
gets
see.
older and weaker, and she doesn't.
Yeah, and that would probably drive him even crazier as well, which is why they brought her in. But
Right.
I don't know. I gotta say, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Crap, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. My bad.
no, but it should be, yeah, it should be fun. I look, and like every time they end the episode, I'm like, ugh, there's only one episode this week. This is
I
terrible.
know. Well, speaking of, so you have Huey and Starlight getting back together, but not really. And I'm a sucker for those kind of things. Like, no, get back together because I like both characters. But that scene,
It's dangerous though. She did
it
that for a
is.
reason.
Yeah,
It's so
especially because that
dangerous.
scene in the elevator where Homelander has his hand like in her side and she's getting choked out. You really kind of like, oh God, this is some real stuff. Like it is very dangerous for her and psychologically, both of them playing both sides. It's terrifying. And then yeah, I know in the comics they're together, so I feel like they're obviously gonna somehow be together in some capacity again.
Yeah, I think they'll have them end up together, but as far as them legit being together through the show, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just seems too risky, especially with the whole A Train thing. Oh no, when she just said to Homelander, like he broke my heart, fuck him, fuck
there's
you,
definitely truth to
fuck
that.
you, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that she had a lot of fun and she felt safe when she was gone, but coming back, she knows she's not safe, and neither is he if
right.
they're together. So I
Okay.
think that's 100% what it is. So you'll see them in the end, but he's the type of guy that I feel like even if she had been like, we can't let anybody know, he still would have done some something stupid and somebody would have found out that shouldn't find out.
Yeah.
I was surprised they kissed in public where they were. I was like,
That's
there's
my
facial
other thing.
recognition cameras
That's
everywhere.
what I'm saying is they're driving around downtown New York City or wherever, just in the middle of Central Park, driving around, picking people up at the curb. And it's like, does nobody notice these wanted people that you see on
Right.
TV
Yeah. And
nowadays on social media? Like, you'd see Mother's Milk driving around. You know that's him. You definitely should be able to tell who Annie is, even with her wig off and costume off. I feel like she has a pretty recognizable face. Maybe that's just because we know who she is. And then you have Huey, who definitely looks recognizable if he's wandering around public.
yeah.
It's bizarre because I feel like you would know who they. Yeah, facial recognition. If you're in London, you have CCTV every street corner. So
Yeah, so that was stupid, but I don't know. What do you have any predictions for next week or no?
Uh, man, that's a good question. That um, I think Butcher's gonna do something stupid because he found out
It's
some
every
more.
episode.
Well, I feel like I feel like I have a prediction. I think A Train is going to help out Butcher and Huey and them because he feels slighted that they're kicking him out. So I think he's gonna start to help them out. I think the female is gonna get killed this season by
Really?
Stormfront. I think Stormfront's gonna kill her. Maybe not next episode, but we're going to see more unraveling by Homelander. He may play nice to Stormfront, but I think there's going to be a fight coming between those two.
Well, she may do something stupid like she almost did.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if they'd kill her so soon though, because she's such I mean, I don't know. I wonder if she's still alive in the comics. But
Yeah. If she's still alive in the comics, then yeah, they might keep her alive. I want to see them take Compound V. Maybe that's the crazy thing that Butcher does is he inject because he knows that's how they're made, Compound V. Well, he's gonna inject himself and see what happens.
right. But in the show, they make it seem way more dangerous than it is in the movie. You know, like
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's how the show started with A Train taking it, not being able to control himself and running through
True.
Robin. But yeah, I mean, desperate times, desperate measures.
Yeah,
So we'll
exactly.
see.
We'll see what happens. What do you think's gonna happen?
I'm honestly not really sure. I think Butcher's gonna go back to the boys with his tail between his legs. He's definitely not gonna let this go. We're definitely gonna see Becca and Ryan again. But I think that Butcher's was completely naive to think that she wasn't gonna put her son before him. I think that she truly loves him, but it's like, you're gonna you're not gonna abandon your kid, and she's 100% right. If I abandon him, I'm creating another Homelander.
Right.
So I think we'll definitely see them again. I think Annie and Huey are just going to go in circles. I think they're going to help each other, and she's still going to be on the inside with them, but they're just going to kind of go, they're going to be playing this game the whole season. Oh, we're together, we're not together, we're just helping each other, we're not helping each other. So
they're going to have to figure it out eventually because that's going to get old.
Yeah. I think they're setting him up to have more of a role.
Oh, God, I totally forgot about the fact that they picked his wife.
Yeah.
I that somehow escaped my mind. Yeah, they picked his wife to get him back into the Seven for his image and all that. He obviously one of the more promiscuous
yeah.
girl, but they set him up with this other one. That
skeletons hugging each other.
Happens. Yeah, I'm gonna be very interested to see how that happens.
I love the therapist because I really only know her. She was Susan from Friends. She was Carol's wife.
Yeah.
So it's like to see her in this manipulative role.
Right.
No, well, you chose her. You had a choice. You chose this one. And he just kind of goes with it.
He's like, wait, what? Yeah, you had your choice, but you chose this girl. He's like, I guess I did. Those mind games, yeah, you're totally right.
Watch her be like a soup, and she has mind control powers. I don't know.
That's a good, maybe.
I mean, he just falls right into it. But
I like that. I know that's the theory I'm buying now. She has mind control powers somehow. I'm buying into it, especially because the Archer dude, he has powers. Where did she come from? There's more to see on her.
Yeah, but only time will tell. There's just not enough freaking episodes with these Prime shows. It kills me.
At all. 8 episodes total or something crazy like that. It sucks because you're just, which is good because you want more, but at the same time, I want more right now.
Right.
Come on.
It's not enough.
Yeah. So,
At least the
but
shows are decently long, so it's not like, a 30-minute show. It's good. It's
right.
like over an hour, I think,
They
per
actually, when they
episode.
say it's an hour, it's legitimately an hour. You get a good amount of content within that hour. So,
All right, so
yeah.
next week
Ooh, what's
is
happening
your
next?
favorite. What's because it's Batman Day is coming up.
Oh my God, Batman Day is coming up. We still need to review the Brewing Clouds, and maybe we'll do that next episode real quick too before we dive into all things Batman.
Okay, so next week we'll be talking about Batman to celebrate Batman Day, and we'll also talk about the next episode of The Boys. And again, we'll do that at the end, so you can cut it off if you haven't seen it. Of course, all those
Yes.
people are probably already gone now and not even listening to this now,
Yeah,
so I
for
don't really
sure.
say. If you have any comments or questions about Batman, slide into our DMs on Hops Geek News Instagram. And honestly, even if anybody has any suggestions of subjects or even want us to research something, you don't feel like doing it and you want to know something like, like with the whole Namor thing, I actually did a little bit of research on it because all I've read are the old school ones and it's been years since I read those. So I had to dust off my books. But yeah, we're happy to look into anything because, obviously we love reading and learning about this stuff as much as everybody else. And Lucky, if you want to see Lucky chug a beer on his next episode, or his episode should already be out on Feelin' Lucky. You can find him on Feelin' Lucky Pod on Instagram. And anything else?
Not that I can think of. Yeah. Just share us, spread the good word of nerdism. You can never have too much in this day and age because it's great. You used to have to hide in the shadows. Now you can openly be a geek and nerd. So share us, like us, and we will be talking to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And if you're watching this live, Wackadoo Brewing will be on Hops News Hoppy Hour
Yes.
tomorrow.
Hops News Hoppy Hour on Thursday. Yes, tomorrow. Oh my gosh, it is tomorrow.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.